What's up, everyone, and welcome into this edition of the Ryan Ripken Show. I'm not Ryan Ripken. I'm Zach Bollinger. Ryan will be in just a moment. Not sure where he is, but he'll be in just a moment. But we got to get the show on the road, get the show started, because we have two incredible guests joining us here in the next hour. We have Ed Brach Award recipient for the Baltimore Ravens, Darius Washington, joining us in the next 10, 15-ish minutes. And then after that, we have former Orioles reliever Brach joining the show live to talk about just kind of spring training, go over some stories, and you all understand. You know the gist of what we do with these interviews. So, a lot of fun, a jam-packed hour over this show. But before we get into this stream, let's go visit our friends over at AutoStream, where if you have anything you need taken care of with your car, head on over to our friends over at AutoStream and get $50 off when you mention Ryan Ripken or the show. A lot of snow, a lot of ugly weather. So head on over to our friends at AutoStream and get $50 off. Cannot be combined with other offers, but let's head back to this stream where actually I see people talk about already the Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles walk it off. Jordan Sanchez walks it off for the Orioles in spring training. Hell yeah. But that's not the storyline. That is not the storyline that we're here to talk about. In fact, we're here to talk about one Samuel Basallo, who had to be taken out of the game after a play at home, holding his right side midsection rib area. We'll get into more of that after this. But first, let's take a look at the play so you all can see what happens, and then we'll talk about the update that we received. So, as you see, actually, I cut it off a little bit. A beautiful relay throw. Beautiful relay throw. Let's go back to the relay throw. Love these fundamentals. Get some Matt Vierling at the plate, but as you see, Samuel Basallo goes down immediately, holding his right side. See the replay from all different angles here, but he would end up leaving the game with trainers after this, as we are about to see in just a moment. Obviously would not return, heads back, but I will say something. This, where is it? Right here. This is not what Oriole fans wanted to see. In fact, this was the last thing Oriole fans wanted to see. When you talk about spring training, we talk about getting guys healthy, get through it, get to the end of spring training. That way you can hit the ground running when you come out of camp into opening day on exactly 1 month in March 26th. So not what you want to see with a Samuel Basallo leaving the game, especially holding his side. You know, we've seen already oblique injuries. You have Westberg down with now his elbow, Jackson Holiday with a hamate bone. Now we will see what's happening with Samuel Basallo, but we did get an update of sorts. Jake Rill tweeted out that Orioles manager Craig Albernaz said it was his decision to remove Samuel Basallo, right side abdominal discomfort, and called it precautionary. Albernaz said Basallo could have stayed in the game, but it's February 26th. Albernaz does not believe Basallo will undergo any testing. So that last line's important. Albernaz doesn't believe Basallo will undergo any testing. That's like, it's good and bad. I personally would rather them just get the testing done, see nothing's there, and move on. But if they truly believe that nothing is wrong and all doesn't need to be tested, he's good, he's fine. If Albernaz truly believes that Basallo could have stayed in the game, hey, if this was regular season, if this was if this was that, he'd be in. If it was a more high-pressured situation, he'd stay in. That's the good news. But the bad news, let's hope everything goes like they're saying right here, this is the big scare of spring training. This is what people want to avoid. We've talked about it so much, and in fact, we're going to get into it a little with Brach later on in the show. Spring training is about getting healthy. Spring training is about laying the foundation for the season. It's about getting guys up to speed. It's about getting guys ready, getting your body warmed up. For pitchers, it's how can we build up to, okay, we're going to pitch 1 to 2 innings the first time, maybe 2 to 3 the second time, 3 to 4 innings the next time. And then hopefully you build up, you're ready. So when you hit the floor, when the plane touches down in Baltimore, Maryland, and you run out to the orange carpet on March 26th, you're hoping everyone can just go. You don't have to worry about, we're still ramping guys up. Guys are ready. So injuries are the big concern. Injuries are the one thing that you do not want to deal with during spring training. But the unfortunate news is every team is going to. Every team's going to deal with injuries. We've seen a plethora of injuries. I mean, ask the Minnesota Twins. They went from having one of the top ends of a rotation to now Pablo Lopez, potentially done for the season. Joe Ryan, I believe, was scratched. I actually just saw Royce Lewis, which is unfortunate because, Royce Lewis is always dealing with injuries. Talent's there, but injuries are going to be the big thing for spring training. It's about how healthy can you get out of spring training. You don't want to deal with injuries. You don't want to deal with guys pushing things down the line. You don't want to deal with, we're starting to get ramped up into the season, because perfect example, last year, Gunnar Henderson, oblique injury. Kept him out, the first few-ish games, I believe. But the issue was then to start the season, Gunnar was playing catch-up. As simple as that. Gunnar Henderson was playing catch-up at the beginning of the season. He wasn't hitting the ground running. He wasn't, okay, boom, I'm healthy. I'm going to be this MVP superstar, next level generational player off the rip, because, hey, I'm getting back into the swing of things. So from that aspect, you just hope Sammy doesn't miss time. But the good news, as Craig Albernaz said right there, is, hey, it's February 26th. Even if Basayo were to have something, he's got to miss, let's say, 2 weeks. He's just, maybe he's tender for 2 weeks. He's sore. You don't want to push him. You have a month until opening day. And that's important. You have a month till opening day to hopefully get things sorted out, get healthy. I mean, you're already, like I said, you're dealing with Westberg. You're dealing with Holiday. You already got 2 guys that you're not going to see on opening day. It would be a really tough pill to swallow if you also have to sit there on opening day and you don't have a Samuel Basayo, who you have such high hopes for. And as I've talked about on Twitter, go give me a follow over at Zach Bollinger 18. And we talk about it on the show all the time. I think Samuel Basayo has almost become under talked about with this team, because you have Pete Alonso, you have Taylor Ward. Obviously, you went and you got Chris Bassett, Ryan Helsley, you brought back Kittredge. There are all these moves that people were kind of talking about. Even Dylan Beavers. In the outfield, you got Beavers. It felt like an almost underrated part coming into this spring, coming into this season, is like Samuel Basayo. That's a top 10 prospect in baseball. That is a guy who, if he is healthy, if he gets his feet under him, he gets comfortable, he has 30 home run potential. This is the bat is what you pay for. So I got the extension after just a few days in the majors, because they want this guy to be a focal point for not only the team, not only the offense, but the organization. So it's going to be very, very important for a guy like Samuel Basayo to be healthy, because let's be honest, I hate to put pressure on him, but you're expecting a rookie of the year type performance this season from Samuel Basayo. A lot of rookies, let's just talk about pressure for a second. A lot of rookies can come in, hit 15 to 20 home runs, drive in 40 to 50 RBIs, bat 240, and you're like, yeah, they're a rookie. Samuel Basayo, 21 years old, I mean, there's already this pressure on him. So you just hope he's healthy. You hope that the Orioles can get through the rest of spring. Spoiler alert, they won't, without any more hiccups, without any more injuries. And then you can go from there. And yeah, he seemed fine. And as we brought up the update from Albernaz, he said, all good, just precautionary. And if that's true, which you hope it is, then great. Hopefully we'll see Sam back out there in the next day or two. But if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show live every single weekday, usually 3 to 5. Appreciate you all for sticking with us over this past week and a half. As usually we take a break during this time right after the Super Bowl, but man, we got too many great guests. We've got too many people joining, too many fun times ahead. So we decided, hey, when we have content to do, we're going to go out and do it. So appreciate you all for sticking with us over the past week. But one thing before we move on to our guests, I mean, talk about a headline for the Orioles. If they can get Tyler O'Neill to be healthy, just the difference that can make for this offense. Had another 2-hit day. Absolute missile off the bat. Had 2 missiles off the bat and 1 at bat. 1 barely went foul, would have been a home run. And then 2 pitches later, hey, how you doing? It's out of here as well. Tyler O'Neill, if he can stay healthy, I mean, that is a guy who has potential to hit 30 home runs, hit 35. I mean, he's hit 34. He's hit 31 home runs. He hit 31 home runs in 114 games. In 114 games in a season with the Boston Red Sox, he hit 31 home runs. This guy has lineup-changing power. So, overall, good to see guys like that. Kobe Mayo had a double off the wall at about 111 miles per hour, according to Rock Kabako. That's just that's what you hope to see in spring training. Guys get confidence. Yes, spring training stats do not matter, but it's about getting these guys, especially that you're hoping to have a big year from. You get those guys confident, you get them comfortable, and then hopefully when you hit the ground on March 26th, it's go time. And that's why you hope the update from Albernaz is true with Samuel Basallo. Hey, just precautionary. If it wasn't February 26th, he would have stayed in the game. So you hope that that's the case. And you ready? What's
going on?
Hey, how's it going,
I've
Ryan?
been here the entire time. Just kidding, I haven't, but I appreciate you. I'm actually rocking a hat today because I got bad hat hair. Bad hat hair today. But what's up, man? What's up, everyone? Welcome on in. Well, you've been welcomed in already. What have I missed?
We just talked about Samuel Basallo. We went over the play, grabbed his right side, but then as you see here from Jake Rill, we got a little update saying, well, yeah, Tyler O'Neill's also locked in. Update saying from Albernaz that, hey, it was precautionary. It was Albernaz's call. It's February 26th, but they're saying he's not even going to undergo potentially any more tests, just any test period, which if you're an Orioles fan is definitely a positive.
Yeah. So going back and watching that play over and over again, and it's really just, to me, it felt like an extension. He overextended his body, got a little bit in a weird spot. But I know initially when you see someone lunge or it's a play at the plate, you worry about lower body, but really it was the abdominal region. And I think it was just a little bit overstretched, got in a weird spot, might be a little bit sore the next few days. But yeah, that's great news. It is. And it is February 26th. Sammy don't have to play through this. And if he needs a couple extra days, you give Sammy Basallo a couple extra days to get right. So it's a part of the game, though. But that's what it seemed like to me. You overstretch it a little bit. And I've been in some of those cases where your body just goes one way and you go, oh, sugar. Am I all right? And then, you turn out okay. So happy to hear positive reports so far about Mr. Samuel Basallo. So good for him.
Yeah. And then obviously just some housekeeping, I guess, for the Orioles.
Yep.
Tyler O'Neill, another home run. He just looks comfortable. And that's the thing. He just looks so different than last year. His body, he's clearly slimmer, which is so funny to say that about Tyler O'Neill because he walks, you see him sleeveless all the time on the Instagram pictures that the Orioles post. And you're like, yeah, he still could probably bench 700 pounds. But He talked about, he's working on flexibility, stuff like that. I think Tyler O'Neill, listen, the injury stuff is the injury stuff. If you get 100 games out of him, he's going to hit 25 homers. That's just who he is. It's all about availability. It's all about being on the field for him. And then a little bit different, but Kobe Mayo had another really nice at bat, got a double off the wall. It just is good to see guys getting comfortable. Like I said, as you walked in, stats don't matter in spring training, but getting comfortable does.
I mean, for people to understand a little bit about the spring again, and we put out that Miguel Tejada clip, of Jim Duquette saying to Tejada, he looked terrible in the spring, and then he balls out during the regular season. And some guys can have great springs, and then they have terrible regular seasons. But overall, the biggest thing is knowing what you have to do to get to opening day and to be successful, be helpful. And everyone has a different way to get there. So why I'm saying that, Zach, whatever happens with Tyler O'Neill specifically, right? I know that he can hit the baseball. I know he can hit the ball out of the ballpark. I think everyone is aware of that because if you bet on opening day for home runs and you bet on Tyler O'Neill, you win because he hits a home run on opening day. Yep. That isn't the problem. The problem for him has been availability. He's proven that he's a big league hitter. There's nothing that he has to prove there. What he has to prove now is, can I be available throughout the regular season? Because if he is available, the track record shows, Zach, he's going to make an impact. He does. But the problem has been, how do you continue to get out there and make yourself, not saying the everyday guy, but you can be available every day. That is going to be the focus here, because as much as there's so much clouded decision-making with the Baltimore Orioles, it's still a good problem to have. If you're the team, you have options, but it's also nice to have options when you're fully healthy. It's not when you want to have, well, we got to go to this because we've already lost a guy or two, and then we got to hope to be perfect. Mm-hmm. That puts pressure on guys too when you have the injuries early, and I felt like that's what happened last year, the pitching side specifically. Well, we got a lot of pitching injuries, and we have depth that has been unproven, and the guys that are already established, hey, it's on you. We need you. And, of course, you're going to say big league pitcher, you should be able to handle all of this. Big league players, you should be able to handle pressure. The reality is not everyone handles that the same. And every season's different. And when you lose, things are more challenging. But when you win, you feel like you can accomplish anything. So I think it's just a good understanding and something to make sure is very well understood, is that players are not the same. Spring training is different for every single player. But above all, the common thing is, how can you make yourself valuable for the regular season?
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Yeah, and obviously, hope Sam Albasayo is all right, but we want to talk about what spring training is also for. The throw to get him the runner out at the plate. Hell of a relay play. And, I mean, something that would make Buck Showalter smile as, hey, what are you doing in spring training if it's not about laying the foundation of your fundamentals? Get those rundowns down. Get those relay throws down. So, as you said, with the availability and stuff, I see a lot of comments about like, oh, nice. So we can expect Tyler O'Neill, he'll hit well for the 80 games he's healthy. It's why you have depth. It's why the Orioles, when you sat there and you're like, oh, well, they have Leody Taveras that they brought in. You obviously have Tyler O'Neill. You have Dylan Beavers. You bring in Taylor Ward. You have Colton Cowser. Like, where do they all fit? Well, breaking news, most likely not all of them are going to be healthy for a full 162. And it's about how can the group perform? How can, okay, we're going to get days off. Tyler O'Neill is not going to be expected to play all 162. He's going to hopefully DH some, play the outfield, and he's going to get in probably, I would say, 4 to 5 times a week. But he's going to have multiple rest days. You're going to have to, move guys around, and having that depth allows guys that maybe struggle with more injuries to get past that and to feel more comfortable in those situations of, hey, like you said, the pressure is not on me to stay healthy for a full 162. Okay, I don't have to play through something that maybe is hindering me. Okay, you have a week where you have something tweaked. I mean, unfortunately, we'll figure it all out more and more, but Gunnar Henderson and Colton Cowser, it ends up both played the 3/4 of the year pretty much injured because they had to. Like, unfortunately, so many guys were out. They were trying to claw and fight back in. So it puts pressure on yourself. So just getting guys healthy, understanding that it's for a full 162, the depth that this team has, I mean, especially starting pitching wise, is just unbelievable. Yeah, it's not all frontline starters, but you got a bunch of guys that if you send out there on a major league mound, you feel pretty good about.
Yeah, there is more depth on this pitching side for the Orioles than they probably have had in the last 10, 12 years. And I mean that. I'd have to go back and look at all of that, but this is the deepest starting rotation that they've had, knock on wood, and the options that they could then have in the bullpen because of that. So it's great to see. Hopefully everyone stays healthy the rest of the way. And you're right to bring up about fundamentals, Zach. I actually want to look at the Sammy Basayo play real quickly again. So, because with that cutoff and relay, because I love these types of things. So you're right. You want to try to have as good of a throw as you can from the outfield. And also during spring training, moments like this, Zach, they are so boring at times and they can be so monotonous. And you're sitting there going, oh, we're running cutoffs and relays again and again. Why don't we just take some ground balls and hit, right? That's everyone's favorite thing. But no. These plays right here are what make all the difference in the world. And so you're going to want to make sure you're prepared when it comes to the regular season and the postseason because you have to be on point. This could be the difference whether you win or lose a ball game right here. That's what it's about. But I'm sorry. Right now at first, I can't tell who's at first base. Is that Pete? No. Who's at first right there, Zach?
Actually, it might have. Let me see. It actually might have been Pete because this was.
So anyway, what I like is you're lining up. You're right at the pitcher's mound. You're deep. I love the fact that if it's Pete, and I'm sorry, I should know. I didn't get to see who started at first today.
Well, Pete did start, but I'm trying to see if that's Ryan Noda.
Whoever it is, I love the positioning, and here's why. The deeper you are for the cutoff and see where the guy's rounding second base right there is when you're deeper as the cutoff guy.
It is Pete.
It is Pete. It looked like Polar Bear. So when you get that deep on a cutoff, a couple things happen here. All right? Let me see if I can. A couple things happen so you guys can see me. When you're deeper there, you get a better idea of the rest of the field. First and foremost, there's that. And then secondly, when you line up deeper and you can see Basayo and Pete, they are in line right now. Okay, there it is, giving a good target. Yes, the throw's going to be a little bit off up the line, but that's why you try to be right in line with the catcher, because if it's a little bit off, you can still make a play. And great job by Sam to adjust.
I was going to say, obviously, gets a little banged up there, but talk about it also helps when you have a catcher that can be an athlete like this.
For sure. But this is why, because Pete being in that spot, if I go back, I know it's the freeze frame, him being over there and more in line, yeah, if you are a hair to the right or left, you're still giving a chance. So there's a chance. It's not the perfect throw, but there's a chance Sammy makes a nice play. But then going back to it, when you're deeper, you can then check where the runners are. So for Pete, as he's getting in, let me pull it up again in a different lens. Hey, there we go. When Pete gets deeper in, Zach, and you're able to then, you take a peek as you're running in, you're looking around where the guy's rounding third, so you have an idea of if we're going to have a play at the plate. You already have that idea. So in Pete's mind, a great throw that's on line, close enough, we're letting this thing go. Why? We can get him at home plate. But if the runner has too big of a jump, you as a defender, you've seen it, you can cut that ball off. And then the other part is, see that guy rounded now second going to third? Pete, if he thinks you're up in a game or they're getting too greedy or you can't get the runner at home, you're deep enough to grab the ball and make the out at third base, right? Like, it's those little things that make a difference. And from the outside, it's cool when you get the out at home plate, but also those scenarios right there. I can't tell you how many times during the season, Zach, if you watch, there's a runner on second base hit. He's trying to score, and the outfielder overthrows or makes a bad throw to the cutoff, and a guy moves up a base, and now that run becomes maybe the tying run, and it changes how you have to pitch. It changes how you have to defend. It's little things like that will impact you. So if we're going to talk about just some of that stuff just to start, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'd love to see the full angle, Zach, of how it all went, from the outfield besides just the throw. But I love the fact that Pete is there. I'd even argue Pete could be a little bit deeper if he needed to be, but I love the fact of where he was there. And I love the fact that Sam Basayo makes a great play. And right there, the lunge for me is what got him. And he should be okay.
Do we want the full angle?
Lunge right there, and he got a foot to the abdomen right there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it just didn't feel great.
No, not good.
No, not good at all.
Not good at all. And also, Zach, yeah, I think right now there's a little issue with our Darius trying to get to his computer, so we might not have him for this show. We may or may not. We'll stay tuned, but we do have Brad Brach joining us at 4:40 to talk some baseball. A guy that might want to talk about cutoffs and relays and maybe helping him out. I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
So
also we do, you're going to need to send Dean a text. 0 for 1 in challenges, few balls off the plate. Just
how bad was
it? It was probably a ball off the plate. I think it was a curveball too. And he might be getting a little greedy, hoping to steal one. But it actually, I'll tell you what it was is in the first, I think it was the first inning. He had two that were strikes that neither he or Sam challenged that were, I mean, I'm talking barely scraped the zone, but would have been overturned. So maybe he was like, you know what, anything close, I'm gonna toss the challenge out there. So, and then for those who want to see the full
games in relief for the Phillies in 22
angle of this,
do we have a replay? Okay, so it's right there.
Nice cutoff here.
And he kind of stutter stepped right there as the runner. Yeah, I still don't get a full great shot of where it was. The only thing is we can see that. So right here, this is what I'm talking about with him running. Is Pete watching this as the cutoff guy? If you're seeing this guy is where he is rounding, and you're like, okay, well, I just need to get deep enough here. But good throw, we're getting this guy at home plate. And they got him at home plate, no doubt. And you can see it's just a little bit of a stutter step, getting tired. Well done. I like those little things. It's good stuff. And Dean, where are you, Dean? Are you behind?
He better be behind.
Yeah, he was behind.
There he
goes.
Way to back up. That's how you back it up, baby.
There we go. Good kid, man. Proud of you. I don't care what they say about you. I did text Dean, what were we working on today? I'm serious because it's each time. We went 2 2/3, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 K. And I know everyone's going to go, wow, Dean Kramer. Woof. These guys, you work on it. You want to know what Corbin Burns, and I'm not saying, I want to emphasize this. I'm not saying that Dean is Corbin Burns. I want to emphasize that, Zach. You heard me say that, right?
Dean Kramer's better than Corbin Burns?
Got it. Great. Do you want to guess Corbin Burns' ERA that year he came to Baltimore?
It had to be like a 5 or a 7. It was, I just remember it being a
why don't we split the middle here?
6.
That is correct. He had a 6.75.
Oh.
And he had 19 hits given up, 12 earned runs, 5 home runs. And you want to know for the season then what happened?
What's that?
Corbin Burns had a 2.92 ERA, 194 innings, only 165 hits, and gave up 22 home runs total for the entire year. And in 16 innings, he gave up that. So it's just a reminder, this is the time when you're on the big league team where you can work on your shit.
Yeah.
Because once you get in the regular season, you rarely want to go, hey, you know what? I want to try something brand new today. And if it doesn't work and we lose, no one's going to care, right? No one's going to care. Actually, I'd love to ask Brad about that. That would be very interesting here because this is the part of why spring training matters for so many people. This is why you have the 6 weeks. Ryan Helsley is working on a split piece, Zach.
Oh,
but he's saying my dominant pitches are my heater, 100, and my wipeout kind of slider, hammer. Yeah, those are the two that makes it work. But he goes, if I have a good feeling, yeah, I mean, this is the time to practice it.
And I mean, let's be honest, you don't even really have to show it that much. If you show it enough that the batter just has to simply, especially a left-handed batter, be like, okay, now I got to look out for the splitter, and you just hesitate that extra millisecond thinking, oh, is this split? Nope, by you. I mean, he doesn't have to throw it, 5 times an inning. You throw it every few days if you don't feel like, it's just still something you're working on. Just put it in batters' minds. It's all a mind game.
And I'm waiting for a Dean Kramer text back. I mean, he's acting like he's
guy's going Hollywood.
I mean, I get it. You got to get your shoulder work in, or like you say you're a big workout guy, which you see that physique, But overall, Dean, first outing, he wanted to work on sinkers in to righties, and he kept throwing it over and over and over again in a game in the regular season. Yeah, you're going to pitch to get the out, and here you're going to keep working on something because you feel like it's a weakness. Well, let's try to make it a strength. So if you are new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. We do this live Monday through Friday right here on YouTube, X, and Facebook, and I appreciate everyone's patience. I appreciate our guests' patience as well. This is supposed to be our downtime, Zach, like you said, but we have so many things in the works, and we don't want to let you down on content. We might let you down in a lot of different ways, I've been told I'm the problem every other day, Zach, and that's okay. But we're going to try to do our best to give you the behind the scenes and bring you content that you would like to enjoy. So without further ado, Brad, if you're good, just give me a thumbs up back there. Oh, yeah, hell yeah. He's ready to rock and roll. Well, ladies and gentlemen, haven't seen him pitch in Baltimore a little bit. It's been some time. Technically, that was, it's already 2018 was the last time you pitched here, Brad? Damn. Well, long time big leaguer. Let's bring on Brad Brach. Brad, what's going on?
Hey, how you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Hey, I appreciate you taking time. 2018, so it's been 8 years now since you pitched in Birdland.
I know, it's been a long time. Time's flying by fast here, approaching 40, and it seems like time's going quicker somehow.
Okay, 40, huh? Oh yeah. I do got it right here. I got your baseball reference. Oh, and your birthday's coming out next month. 2 months.
It's coming up. So a couple weeks left here in the 30s. So.
Hey, well, you know what? I'm a little bit behind you, even though people think I'm already like 42 or 52. It's got to be my maturity, right, Brad?
That's it. That's what it is.
Hey, if you heard me talking before, I'm curious. That's also why I was looking up some of your numbers, not the per se. You pitched a lot of years. Yeah, in Baltimore, you pitched pretty well. I guess 2.05 ERA is not terrible nowadays. But do you remember any of your spring trainings?
I do. Yes. When you were talking about getting some work in, trying different things there, it's one of those things for me. It was very tricky to try to do because you got to be ready once the season starts. And it's like if you start messing around with the other stuff a little bit too much, I feel like at times. And this is just for me, it was tough to, do what I did best. And I think for me, having 3 pitches already, there wasn't like a ton I'd go into spring training trying to work on. It was just more of having the feel for it and like kind of having benchmarks. Once I knew I was going to be on the team, having kind of benchmarks of what I wanted to feel as I was getting closer to that season starting.
Right. And I'm looking at, typically you had some really good springs, just for what it's worth. You were ready to rock and roll. And sometimes that does correlate. I mean, last year for the Birds, I shouldn't say everyone, a lot of fans didn't want their bingo card to have Brian Baker to start the year. If everyone was healthy, they're like, this Brian Baker guy, oh, he's got stuff, but he hasn't played well. What did Brian Baker do? Guys got hurt, and he ended up being one of their best relievers because he had a great spring. He transitioned that into the season. And ended up being traded to the Rays, where there's a lot of upside for a guy like Brian Baker. But go ahead.
No, I was going to say I really like watching Brian Baker pitch. For me, I felt it was very similar to where I was at. I felt like he was teetering on. He has the stuff, clearly has the stuff, and he has 3-pitch mix as a reliever. And for me, whenever I watched him, I was like, he is so close to being right there. And I feel like it was more of a confidence thing than it was stuff. And sometimes, Darren O'Day would always tell me there was no correlation from spring to the season. You could have a bad spring and a great season. You could have a bad spring and a bad season. There just never seemed to be this correlation of, man, I got to go out there and put up good stats. Unless you're trying to make the team, then obviously you have to do that and show that you should be on the team coming up that spring. But spring to me was always a weird thing. For me, it was more focused on trying not to walk guys. For me, that was just try to get the ball over the plate, regardless of what the results are. The rest will come, because my velocity was always down in spring. So for me, I was never worried about spring numbers. And honestly, I couldn't even tell you any of them, which is kind of a fortunate thing there. Once you kind of establish yourself, spring is kind of just get your work in. Don't worry about the numbers and just be healthy once the season starts. So, spring training is just one of those weird times of year that the stats, you have guys that go and rake and then they get in the season and they can't get a hit for 2 months. And it's just a weird time thing. But like you said, when you're trying to make the team or you're trying to work on something, spring is really important.
Yeah. I mean, good thing the Birds probably should have cut you in 2016 because you were very 4.66 ERA, 14 hits, 5 earned runs. Should have cut him right then and there.
It should have been done. It should have been done.
It should have been done, because how could you have ever had a 2.05 ERA that year?
Yeah, I know. That's what I said. I was just fortunate enough to. I mean, I can't think back to those years. A lot of my baseball memories here are kind of fading as the years go along. But I can't think back to that spring too much. But probably trying to work on throwing in the lefties or trying to throw in more, which I never did. So. You do that at Sarasota when the wind's blowing out. Anybody who's been at that complex knows that pop-ups to the shortstop are in the that picnic area pretty fast there in left field. So probably trying to work in a little bit there, and that was never really a strength of mine. So not too great of a spring. Like you said, I should have got let go right there.
Yeah, should right there. I mean, it never won a lot of time. But on those types of notes with it, and you talked about with a guy like Brian Baker and maybe some of the relievers. And, I think I've told you this before, but if I haven't, I'll tell you again. I always felt like when you were more established, where you knew what your role was going to kind of be, it's always great. But unless you're really closing out ball games, I always feel like the middle guys do the dirty work. You're expected to get the outs every time. And if you don't, it's magnified. And also relievers in that case, which is a credit to you. You had a lot of success over a long period of time, and that's not always as common for relievers. Some of them have really, really down years, and then they have to go somewhere else. They get plucked off a waiver wire, and then they have a good run for a couple years. What is something you think for relievers? Because there's a few on the Orioles that I was watching, doing some of the broadcasts, and what I've seen from year to year of, hey, he's got stuff. It's there. The results aren't there, but it's there. What do you notice then for some of those guys is the hardest obstacle coming out of the pen in kind of those middle frames?
Yeah, it can be tough. I think any reliever just wants to have a role, specific role, whether that would be. I almost wish that they were able to just be like, hey, listen, you're going to come in losing games. You got to establish yourself. You got to prove that we can. Because at least you would know when you're coming in. And for me, the hardest part was not knowing when I was going to go in. It's just really hard to be ready from the first inning to the ninth inning every single night. And really, guys who are able to establish themselves, especially relievers, they have an established role at some point. And almost every guy that I've noticed that has played, 8+ seasons in the big leagues as a reliever, strictly as a reliever, they were a closer at one point. Or Darren O'Day, he closed a little bit, but he was the 8th inning guy for 10 years of his career. So I think it's just one of those things that you're able to get yourself to that point. But to your point, talking about guys that are trying to get there, I wish there was a special formula or this magic thing that happens, but it's really just getting confidence, and it's getting in roles that, you go into the 6th inning with a lead. Next time that same spot comes around, it's the 7th inning, you go in there and you keep the lead. And it's more about just kind of going out there and you just got to stay super focused and just get your job done and get it to the next guy. Because as we all know, the closers they're established. They're going to pitch they're up by 3 runs or less, and that's what they're going to do. And it's the rest. It's up to everybody else to get the ball to them in that spot. And honestly, bullpens work 100 times better when you have these roles and each guy just passes the ball along. And that was kind of when I was in Baltimore, that was just kind of expected between the guys, that whatever your role was, just get it to the next guy, and the next guy's going to get it to the next guy. And then Zach's back in the 9th inning, and we know we got to win 9 times or 99 out of 100 times.
Right. I always think, and you're describing it, but we're all better when we can be true creatures of habit. You know, there's chaos that's going to unfold, right? And there's going to be situations that you can't be ready for, and you got to get hot and you got to be thrusted in. Or a starter goes only 3 innings, everyone's all hands on deck, or just long games and the bullpen's taxed already and people get thrusted in, right? It's a cat and mouse game. Ollie, sorry. Do you hear a squeaky ball? Brad, do you hear a squeaky ball?
No, I don't.
Okay, good. Because this freaking thing. Ollie. I got my golden in the studio.
Oh, yeah. So he wants to play.
He does want to play. Well, I could go on about the creatures of habit thing, but Zach, you got a question for Brad?
Yeah, actually, Brad was wondering this because it's something I've always been curious. When you talk about the mindset of spring training, you personally, do you think that maybe there is a quote unquote advantage for maybe statistically speaking for a hitter versus maybe a pitcher in spring? Because we've talked about as a pitcher, especially as an established role and kind of a guy you know is going to make the team, you're working on things. And obviously a hitter, he's not necessarily thinking, oh, I'm working on cutters inside all game. Yeah. So do you think maybe there's an advantage statistically in spring training anywhere?
I think, honestly, it goes in waves. I think early on, especially with the way pitchers throw now, the velocity is just hard to catch up to these guys coming a week later than pitchers. So I feel like they start a little bit behind. Then as pitchers, we kind of hit this lull in the middle there. You're just kind of like, you're really just trying to get through the outings like unhurt. That's a bad way to like look at it, but it was kind of like when you really think about it, that's really what you're just trying to do. The results don't matter if you're on the team, and you just want to go out there. You want to get your pitches in. It's really all about like the recovery at some point there in spring. You want to have that. You almost want to have that 20, 25 pitch outing that you kind of struggle to get through because you get that like big soreness out of the way before the season starts. And then I feel like as it gets closer to spring, I think the pitchers come back to the advantage. So I swear it's funny you bring that up because I swear I noticed that every spring that it was kind of like this ebb and flow of who has the advantage and who doesn't. But I think now with the way these guys are they're throwing 100 in January, that it's like these hitters are they're behind the 8 ball from the beginning. And for them, it's just trying to get timed up to that. And now all of a sudden you're throwing this breaking ball and now you're throwing a changeup. So I think now the way spring is, I think the pitchers have the advantage for a majority of the time, but it really could be. I couldn't, say any of the stats or anything that back up, but I swear when I was playing, it was like an ebb and flow where pitchers had an advantage, then hitters had the advantage. And then towards the end of spring, it kind of leveled off. And then it was kind of like, those were the outings where you kind of got a gauge of where you wanted to be for the season.
And then obviously just talked about some roles and stuff in the bullpen. For you specifically, what was kind of your routine as the game would kind of go on, and now it's, maybe it's the 6th inning and you're like, okay, it's time to kind of lock in. What was kind of your routine to get you in that mindset to go out there?
Yeah, for me, it was like the first 5 innings. I enjoyed watching the games. I might have been in the minority when it came to it, but Camden Yards, you had a great view out there in left center field. You could kind of see, maybe where the umpire was favoring or where certain hitters were trying to do that night. So I try to watch at least the first at bat really closely for every hitter, just in case you face one of those guys later in the game. And then it was really just kind of, staying in a relaxed mindset, especially once I had an established role. It was easier to do that because I knew I wasn't going to be in before, the 6th inning at the earliest. So those first 5 innings, just try to, get a feel for what the hitters are trying to do that night, see where our pitchers were establishing certain parts of the zone. And then from there on, in the 5th inning, we just had a tradition of drinking a Red Bull. So I had a sugar-free Red Bull. We would smash them, see who had the best smash can. And then from there, just went through like a little stretch routine, like in the 6th, 7th inning, kind of, get a little bit of a sweat going. And then luckily, once I really had like a truly established role, it was like when that phone rang, I was already on the mound tossing before they even got off the phone. So that was a really good luxury I had there. And I think what led to a lot of my success was just being able to know exactly when I was going to go in the game. So you don't have to expend a bunch of energy in other areas. So it was kind of that night, you kind of see the scores out of reach. You really don't have to be super focused in. You don't have to go through your full routine. I know guys that did, but for me, it was kind of like, okay, I'm going to get warm, but I'm not going to be sitting here and be laser focused for the last 4 innings if the score's too outrageous, unless I hadn't thrown in a few days. But I didn't have this. I tried to stay out of like this strict kind of ritual when I got ready. It was just kind of just get loose, get warm, and be ready when the game was called to me at that point.
Yeah, and then obviously you just talked about, if the game was out of hand and stuff. So let's say you pitched, let's say 2, back-to-back games or something, you're not going in. What was a game like where you're just kind of like, I know I'm not pitching tonight?
It definitely a little different. I think if we were winning, it was definitely more fun down there. I think guys were a little bit more loose, we obviously, when I was in Baltimore, guys did such a good job of making sure guys kept their heads in the game. So, say it was a 15-2 game, knowing I wasn't going to pitch, there's some younger guys down there that see some of the older guys kind of joking around and not really paying attention. It was like somebody's role to kind of just go up to them and be like, hey, just make sure you stay focused because, this game's out of hand, but one of you guys are going to have to finish these last 3 innings, or you're going to have to – there's going to be a spot coming up here that one of you guys have to be ready. And I was in that role when I first came to Baltimore, so I understood what it was like to stay ready. But for me, it was like the AL East was such a beast and is such a beast. And if you're not ready, I always said you could get 5 runs put up on you before you snap your fingers. So there was really not a ton of games where you really goofed off a ton. I say that like kind of half-heartedly because you just had to be focused and you never knew when you would have to go in a game and finish it up or whatever. So the games I said I didn't pay attention, I still was, not goofing off too much or doing anything stupid down there because there's cameras everywhere too. You don't want to do something too stupid and get caught out there. So we did our best to kind of keep it under control, but we had good times when the games were kind of out of hand.
I was just thinking about this. There's 2 ways I want to go. Just because you mentioned that the AL East that just can light you up in a second. You're like, yep.
Yeah.
That's the anchor man. Like, boy, that escalated quickly.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Brick killed somebody,
Yeah.
That's kind of that feeling. What do you have a memory of that facing the AL East where everything was fine? All of a sudden you're like, holy hell, that got bad.
It was, I felt like 5 out of 10 times in Toronto, especially on day games. I can't think of like anything specific. I know gave up a line drive home run to Jose Bautista. I think he was the second batter I faced in a day game, and the ball was in the bleachers before I felt like I even threw the pitch. And I was like, all right, now it's if I don't get out of this here quick, I'm going to be out here for 3 innings. I'm going to wear 15 runs, and I'm going to be out of here. So I think it was more of those thoughts, and I think luckily I didn't have too many terrible games against the AL East. So nothing's coming to mind, but I can just think of not me specifically, but at Yankee Stadium in 2017, we gave up like a 9 or 10 run game. We gave up a 9 or 10 run lead there, like in the 6th inning or later. I was a part of that. Starlin Castro hit a ball off me that was halfway up the bleachers in left field, and I blew a save, and it escalated so fast. The game seemed like it was out of hand. The next thing you know, it was they scored 3 this inning, then they scored 4 the next, and it's like this 10-run lead turned into 3 runs really quick. And those games always stuck in the back of your mind because it made you realize like, hey, there's no like goofing off, and these games can get out of hand quick. And a lot of times it felt like it was college games, like these games turned into like these college Saturday afternoon where the starter gets knocked out quick, and now all of a sudden this 15-run lead turns into an 8-run lead in 2 innings, and there's still 16 outs to get. So it just like it felt like that could happen on any given day. And for some reason, I have a lot of memories of day games being like that. I don't know what it was about day games at these stadiums, but they seem to get escalated pretty quickly. Yeah, especially, like I said, Toronto comes to mind, and a couple games in New York come to mind. But I just can't think of anything specifically with me, which I guess is a good thing.
So writing down in my notes here, Zach, Brad Brach hates day games. Games hate him.
I loved pitching the night games. Day games, just for some reason, were just that earlier routine, and like I just felt like I just couldn't wake up and get like ready. And thankfully, a lot of times I didn't have to pitch the 7th or 8th inning, so I had a few extra hours. But it was just tough to wake up. I don't know what it was.
Who else wore you out? If you're thinking about this, so you're saying Jose Bautista, Is there any hitter now that you're done where you're like, yeah, not screw you in that case, but like, can you not light me up every time you come to the
Yeah,
ditch?
it was Pablo Sandoval. I faced him when I was a rookie in my second year out in San Diego when he was with the Giants, and those teams were really good. And I couldn't get the guy out. I swear I could throw a pitch over his head. He hit it. I'd swear I'd bounce in the dirt. He hit it. Then I go over to Baltimore, and he's in Boston. But at that time, he didn't really play like up to his standards. I go to the Cubs in 2019, and he hits a pitch that I swear is 2 inches off the ground, out to left center field at night to walk us off when I was with the Cubs. And it was just like everywhere I went in my career, I'm like, this guy is showing up. He's hitting homers, couldn't get him out. And it was just one of those guys I'm glad I didn't have to face a ton at the end of my career, because early on and in the middle there, he just absolutely tormented me. I just could not get him out.
It sounds a lot of good fun memories.
Yeah, great memories.
That's
like the worst part about being relievers. You don't remember these, 5 saves you ran off in a row. You remember the walk-off homer. You gave up the homer that you gave up to tie the game, or, some big double in the gap that tied the game. It's like these things just come back and haunt you even years after you're done playing.
Well, and that's what I was saying. It's the line of work that you were in. No one goes, "Hey, great hold there, Brad.
Yeah,
great job." They go, "Oh, nice. You gave up a piss missile to Batista.
Yeah.
Oh, lost this game on a walk-off. Hey, great job, man." Like,
they never the reporters never there to check out how the 7th or 8th inning went when you went 1, 2, 3, 2 strikeouts on a ground out. It's always like when you give up that 2-run lead and then you end up losing in the 9th inning, like what happened there? But it's just part of it. It's part of the gig, and you go there, and they have a lot more respect for you, the media, if you just you're at your locker when it's at the end of the game, as opposed to avoiding them. And that's what I made sure I did. The first thing I did after games, if I had a bad one, I knew they were going to be there, answer the questions, and move on to the next day and get my workout in after the game and just be ready to go the next day. So
yeah. Hey, Brad, how did it feel that you gave up a home run, lost your team the game? Thoughts?
Yeah. You have some, you got to come up with some generic answers, because especially some of those games, as you can imagine, the adrenaline's going and you're hot, and it's been a bad couple weeks, and this is the culmination of it. And you got them sitting there waiting for you after the game. So you just have to compose yourself. And those interviews aren't the greatest. You're a little bit more sweaty than you'd like to be for those, but you just get it done with and you move on, and that's just part of the gig.
Yeah, it is. And they got a job to do.
Exactly.
But there's a framing, I do understand, of saying, hey, walk me through the thought process, instead of, big spot there and you didn't come through.
Yeah.
Put the team in team now is fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
Your fault. But
yeah.
How do you feel?
And especially the guys that were there in Baltimore, they were all great. And I think it's a two-way street. I think these guys that get themselves in hot water with reporters is because
no doubt
they're either getting they're asked the tough questions, and everybody knows when you're struggling, and the person that knows the most is the one answering the question. So anyone that's played any level of baseball knows you go through struggle. So I can understand how guys get there, but I just made sure that I didn't end up on, Barstool or something like that with a stupid quote that I had after games.
Yeah. But that's the part, right? The reporters, in all seriousness, when I joke about that, they have a job to do.
Yeah.
They have a job to do. Now, just like for a player, how you ask a question, how a player responds, you can control that. And usually that's why we say when guys go, wow, this person as a reporter is really, really good. And players, they go, wow, that player handles that situation well.
Yeah.
We all could be better at it or worse at it. And if you're pretty bad at it, it gets magnified on both sides. You're right.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say you said a lot of the right things, did a lot of you handled yourself well. It's not easy. And it's also not fun having to ask those questions. Now being on the media side.
Yeah.
No one wants to talk about bad news when you got to talk about bad news.
Yeah. And I think being in Baltimore for the 5 seasons I was there, by the 4th and 5th years when I got a chance to close a little bit, you've dealt with those guys so much that they're not trying to get you to they feel bad. And I know they feel bad asking the question. I know they have to ask it. And it's just kind of one of those things that you just have to deal with, especially as a reliever that pitches late in the game. It's the reason why there's a bigger paycheck, is because you're in the back of the game and you're expected to do these types of things. And that's where everybody wants to be as a reliever. So it's kind of a give and take on all ends. And like I said, the reporters in Baltimore were awesome and they were great to me. And I can never say a bad word about any of them.
No, look, Baltimore's home. They've treated me well through all the years. I just love to give all the, Dean Kramer right now, which Dean did respond today to what he was working on. So like for Dean, though, I like to mess with him. I asked him after, hey, velo down, Dean, you okay?
Yeah.
And so anyway, he said today was I wanted to work ahead with the heater and moving it around, mix in some wrinkles. I won't say what he's working on next time. Can't give away those secrets.
There you go.
So,
but for me too, like the starters, I don't know how they went out there and got their work in and got what they need to be done, because it's like if you show everything, and you got to work on everything, but if you show everything, it's in every single report now, especially with all the TrackMans and all the stuff they have. It's like every guy knows exactly what you're going to do in the game. There's no more surprising anymore. So what starters were able to do and what they're able to do is truly amazing. And I give those guys so much credit, because it is hard to be a starter in the major leagues and to go out there and go through a spring and get your pitches in, work on stuff. And Dean's been doing it now for a bunch of years. It's a crazy thing that they have to do every single year in and year out.
It's hard being a pitcher. It is. But I want to preface this here, Brad, okay? You guys still control everything, all right? Yeah. So I don't want to hear like, oh, woe is me for a pitcher when I'm looking like an ass swinging on a pitch because I got so fooled, you know?
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to say there's anything harder to do in all sports than hitting. I love watching hitters go through their routines, hitting ball. I think it's amazing what they do, and I enjoyed watching them take their swings, take their ground balls. To me, that was like something I really enjoyed doing, especially with the coaches we had in Baltimore. Bobby Dickerson, there was nobody better watching those guys take ground balls on the infield with. It was like watching magicians out there. We were so lucky to get to watch JJ Hardy, Machado, Scope on a daily basis out there. And it was something I truly enjoy watching those guys do. And then getting to watch them go in the cages, it's incredible what those guys do. I give hitters so much credit to go out there and want to put themselves through the misery of a major league season, facing these guys that are throwing 95 to 100. Every single guy now. There's not a guy you face that throws less than 95.
What was the highest you got up to?
Hit 99 one pitch.
Woo!
That's like average nowadays. That's like for relievers. It's like, So.
Well, hey, before we let you get out of here, out of curiosity, since we talked about the evolutions and guys throwing hard, apparently, Brad Brach, 99-mile-an-hour club. You can put yourself in there. You had Pete Alonso as a teammate for a couple of years, but you got to see, I believe, his rookie year.
Yes.
Back in 2019. And it was pretty spectacular. He had 53 jacks, I think.
Yeah.
What's an impression you've had of Pete, because of what you saw from a young Pete to what he's now blossomed into, and he looks like a big leader for this ball club going into 26 in Baltimore.
Yeah, it's funny. Pete was the first one that I met on the team when I was when I got cut from the Cubs, picked up by the Mets. He actually picked me up at the team hotel. He was dropping off, I think his fiance at the time, and he was like, "Hey, you need a ride?" So I'm like, just got done seeing this guy do the All-Star game and like seeing the power he had, and then we had this conversation on the way to the field, and it was really cool to see a rookie have his level head as he did, especially playing in New York. And I know growing up a Met fan that doing it for the Yankees is one thing, doing it for the Mets, especially at a young age, is like a completely other thing. They like to seemingly blow everything up a little bit more just to get a little bit more attention away from the Yankees. So to see him do it at that young of an age was truly impressive. And I'll still never forget, I believe it was his 50th home run. It was in Cincinnati. He hits this ball through the smoke towers. There's like those smoke towers in right center field. And I'm like, looking at it from the dugout, I'm like, that looked like a really well-located pitch. The pitch was down and away below his knees, off the black, and he hit this ball out through the smokestacks in right center field. And I'm just like, you don't see that very often. And for me, it was really cool to see him at such a young age. Like, I mean, the guy, I don't even know if he played AAA. Called him up from day one, and he comes up, hits all these home runs, deals with all the publicity that comes with it. And the one thing I really noticed was the younger guys that were on the team really looked up to him, and he was a leader for that younger core of guys. Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo, they all seemed to gravitate, and they were really good with each other, but they all seemed to kind of gravitate towards Pete at that time. And that was one of the things that really stuck out to me, especially in 2019. 2020, we were really excited for that season. I think the COVID year just kind of threw everything for a loop. So it was kind of hard to. You first of all didn't get to be around the guys as much as you wanted to, so that kind of stunk. But we were really excited that year, and he was obviously again one of the leaders on that team, and just doing his thing. He's the guy that hits a lot of home runs, and I think he's gonna, as any hitter would, really enjoy hitting at Camden Yards. And I think the Dimensions are gonna treat him really well, and I think the fans in Baltimore, first and foremost, are gonna really enjoy seeing Pete Alonso playing day in and day out. He's the guy that goes out there every single day. He posts. Whether it's going to be home runs, whether it's going to be RBIs, he's going to put up a lot of them. And he's a guy that just enjoys playing the game, and what you see is what you get. It's not like one of those guys that goes out there and kind of puts up a false front. Pete's going to let you know how he feels, and he's not ashamed of it, and he is who he is. And it's going to be, I think, really enjoyable for the Baltimore fans to get to watch him play.
Well, I think everyone's enjoyed him so far. Zach has been, I think, the most happy watching Pete Alonso so far.
Been fun.
And Buck Showalter loved him. He loved Chris Bassett too when you talked about him. And there's a lot to like here, and I know and understand how passionate this fan base is in Baltimore, and how much they love baseball, and how much they've been dying for a world championship to come back. It'll be 43 years this year since Baltimore has been in the World Series and won it. So it's an exciting time. It's kind of a new era again, new manager, first time, but Polar Bear Pete, I think, is going to settle in to.
And I think honestly too, getting is it Taylor Ward, right? I think
Taylor Ward.
I think I was thinking about that today when I look at their lineup. I think having a contact guy like that. I think the Blue Jays last year in the World Series just kind of proved that you don't need to hit all these home runs to be successful. And I kind of hope, baseball adopts putting the ball in play more, and that's what Taylor Ward does. He hits the ball to all fields, and I think throwing a guy like that in the lineup behind Henderson, behind Alonso, behind Adley, behind these guys, I just think it makes the lineup that much deeper. And I think Baltimore has a lot to be excited. I know last year was a little bit of a disappointing year, but you just can't imagine all these guys having a down year again like they all seemingly had together last year. I personally can't see it happening. So I think this year they have a lot to look forward to, and I think it's going to be an exciting year in Baltimore.
I think it will be too. There is a lot of optimism, and I know a lot of people where if they get stressed or they worry is just because of what's transpired the last few years where the team was really good but didn't win the playoffs. And then last year you get injured early and you can't recover.
Yeah.
And for this year, I think it's the deepest team that they've had in a while. And I think that they have the means to compete in the American League and the AL East specifically. So, Brad, what else you got going on before I let you out of here?
Not a whole lot. Just keeping the kids busy. Had a big 6U basketball tournament last week for my son. So that was fun to see him play for the first time. But no, just keeping busy with the kids, playing some golf, and just kind of enjoying that right now.
Well, continue to work on the golf game. Apparently, I'm hearing that your fantasy football skills need to be better, according to Brooks.
Yeah, they do. That the last few years haven't been the best fantasy-wise with football, so I gotta get back to it this year and follow a little bit better than I had the last couple of years.
Hey, well, if you need any help, you let us know. If you ever want to come back to a Ravens game in the fall,
I'd love that. I'd love to come back and check out a game.
There we go.
Make
it happen. Well, I'll bother you before then, Brad, but I appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brad Brach, everybody. Always love hearing the perspective of it, of all of it. And Brad is so – what I love even the reliever part that I mentioned, Zach, a lot of people in Baltimore – a lot of people around the league sometimes forget some of those – relievers in Baltimore. They remember those guys because the bullpen in Baltimore was nasty for that period. And a big reason was Brad, Darren O'Day. And even when you go back to having Jim Johnson, Zach Britton at the end of that, it was really, really good. It was a strength for the Baltimore club. So Brad's amazing. Appreciate him. I realize I got to get going on time.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Update for our Darius. We apologize for today. He will be on tomorrow. Right here on the Ryan Ripken Show.
Woo! Electric in the air.
That's a nice Thundering Herd shirt.
Thank you. Actually, I love this logo.
That's really good.
Fantastic logo.
We got to work on we got to get some gear like that. That's electric. Any final words, Zach?
NFLPA report cards came out. Steelers ranked dead last in all of the National Football League, which is shocking. But apparently they had 5 stalls for the entire team. That's what's out there being reported by ESPN. So
we might have to talk about that more.
Yep.
And also,
Boom.
it's a danger if you open chips.
yeah,
We will talk about that tomorrow. If you don't know, you'll find out tomorrow. Cue the music. As always, here on the Ryan Ripken Show, we appreciate each and every one of you. Have a day, have a night, have a great stinking rest of your Thursday. Come back and join us tomorrow, right here on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Woo!